Thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Raskin, members of the committee. I'm very pleased to be here. I commend you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing, and I'm very pleased to see the attendance. I'd like to focus my comments this morning on 4 points that I believe were the main causes of the widespread fraud that has occurred and what could be done to deal with these issues. First, agencies should have been much better prepared in order to prevent fraud in the first place. We worked with the Congress back in 2016, and the Congress passed the Fraud Reduction and Data Analytics Act, which required agencies to implement GAO's fraud risk framework to help prevent fraud in the first place. Agencies were slow to implement this legislation and therefore were not prepared properly when the coronavirus emergency occurred. This needs greater attention and oversight, I believe, from this committee. Secondly, the urgency in providing relief funds led to trade-offs that limited the ability to achieve accountability and transparency goals of the legislation. These trade-offs included allowing self-certifications and applications, limiting the amount of supporting documentation that applicants had to apply. And these trade-offs, along with internal control weaknesses within the agencies, made these programs much more susceptible to fraud than otherwise would have been the case. Now, Congress rectified some of these trade-offs in subsequent legislation. Agencies have begun to implement our recommendations, but there's much more that needs to be done to deal with the remaining COVID programs, to catch people who have perpetrated fraud and bring them to justice. But we're also, unless we make these changes, we're not better prepared for the future, for future emergencies, which certainly will come with disaster assistance and relief and other events that are unforeseen, but certainly will come. Third, I'm advocating, and I've done this before, that there's a permanent center for excellence and analytics in the Inspector General community. Now, this first one was created back in the Recovery Act when we had the Great Recession, and that Recovery Operations Center helped prevent fraud and enable the IGs to work together because a lot of the fraudsters hit multiple programs as well, and this brought in great data analytics experience. Unfortunately, this center was terminated in 2015. Now, I recommend that Treasury had the ability to pick up the center operations. They declined on that. I recommended the Congress to make it permanent at that point in time. I was not successful. I'm at it again. And I think it makes sense to have this to deal with. Fraud occurs in regular federal programs all the time, as well as improper payments, which we talk about in our statement. And if you had this permanent capability, it would not only deal with regular fraud, but it would be ready and there when emergencies occur, and you won't waste time standing up. Every day wasted is another day susceptible to fraud and improper payments. This would help. Fourth, the government has an underlying improper payment problem. These are payments that shouldn't have been made or were made in the wrong amounts. And I've testified before this committee many, many times on this problem over the years. It occurs in a wide range of federal programs. It's pervasive across the government. So when you have that type of problem that we're not dealing with on a regular basis, and you add additional spending of billions, hundreds of billions, in this case trillions of dollars, you're going to have these type of problems in place. So I have many recommendations in my testimony that I think would help address this issue. And I've put forth at least 10 legislative suggestions for how Congress can act to make sure that this problem doesn't happen again at the magnitude in which we've seen in this particular case. So I'm looking forward to answering questions today. I'm also looking forward to working with this committee to put solutions in place that can guarantee when the federal government finds it necessary, in this case, to provide funds for public health purposes and the economic repercussions of disasters, that it's done in a way that gets the funds to the people who need it and not allow this type of fraudulent activity to plague our national programs. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.